The loss of a loved one is never easy, but losing a family member to violence is devastating. And for at least one celebrity, it's pushed them into activism. In films like Mad Max Fury Road and Atomic Blonde, Charlize Theron has fought against and dealt out jaw-dropping violence with astonishing skill and gravitas. But the Oscar winner found herself in a real-life fight for her life in her native South Africa, and one which ended with a familial tragedy. In a 2019 interview with NPR, Theron recalled the violent impact of her father's alcohol addiction on her family, stating, "It was a pretty hopeless situation. Her father's addiction issues left them in a constant state of anxiety, wondering when it would bloom into physical violence. That tension finally reached a boiling point when Theron was 15. Her father threatened Theron and her mother with a gun, and even fired shots into a room where they were hiding." The actor explained, "None of those bullets ever hit us, which is just a miracle." To save herself and her daughter, Theron's mother fired back with her own weapon, killing her husband. Charges were not filed because she had acted in self-defense. Theron has spoken openly about the experience in hopes of supporting others who might be in similar situations. "I'm not ashamed to talk about it, because the more we do talk about these things, the more we realize we are not alone in any of it."
No, it doesn't haunt me. No, it doesn't haunt me at all. I'm completely at peace.
More than one actor on this list has lost multiple family members to violence. This includes Frasier star Kelsey Grammer, whose father and sister were both homicide victims. In a 2015 interview with Vanity Fair, Grammer said that their deaths, while painful, also taught him a tough but valuable lesson. "Every one of us is going to experience some terrible loss. I think you come to look at it as part of life." Grammer's father, newspaper editor Alan Grammer, was killed by taxi driver Arthur Bevan Niles outside his home in the U.S. Virgin Islands in 1968. Niles was found not guilty of the crime by reason of insanity and spent decades in a psychiatric ward. Less than a decade later, Grammer lost his younger sister, Karen, to another mentally unstable criminal. Karen Grammer was just 18 years old in 1975 when she was abducted by spree killer Freddie Glenn and 3 accomplices, who robbed the restaurant where she was employed in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The quartet sexually assaulted Grammer before stating that they would return her home. However, Glenn, who was under the influence of LSD, fatally stabbed Grammer and left her to die. Glenn was sentenced to death for the murders of Grammer and 2 other people before Colorado abolished capital punishment. Grammer's testimony about his sister's loss contributed to the denial of parole for Glenn in 2009 and 2014.
You still miss her, I can see. Yeah. Do you ever get over it?
No.
The runaway successes enjoyed by Jennifer Hudson, she is the youngest woman ever to claim an EGOT, were solely tempered by a terrible family tragedy. 1 year after Hudson won her Academy Award for Dreamgirls, her mother, Darnell Donnerson, and brother, Jason Hudson, were both found dead from gunshot wounds in Donnerson's Chicago, Illinois home on October 24, 2008. Hudson's 7-year-old nephew, Julian King, was also reported missing from Donnerson's home. He was later found dead from multiple gunshots in a stolen SUV. Police arrested King's father, William Balfour, for the 3 murders. Balfour was the ex-husband of Hudson's sister and reportedly killed her mother and brother and kidnapped his son out of jealousy over an alleged new boyfriend. Though Balfour protested that he had nothing to do with the killings, a jury found him guilty of all 3 deaths, as well as charges of home invasion, aggravated kidnapping, residential burglary, and possession of a stolen car. He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, plus 120 years. Hudson, who testified at the trial, later established the Hudson King Foundation, which provided care for families who lost relatives to violent crime. While landing both critical acclaim and box office success for films like Poor Things and Spotlight, alongside his run as the Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Mark Ruffalo has also dealt with more than his share of personal tragedy. He's experienced dysthymia, a constant low-grade depression, as well as a brain tumor that temporarily left him with hearing loss and partial facial paralysis.
I had this crazy dream that I had a brain tumor.
Ruffalo has also experienced personal loss on 2 occasions, a close friend who died by suicide in 1994, and the shooting death of his brother, Scott, in 2008. Scott Ruffalo died after he was shot in the head in his Los Angeles home. Initially considered a case of self-inflicted injury, Scott's death was later ruled a homicide, and police questioned Shaha Mishaela Adem, who visited him shortly before his death, and her boyfriend, Brian Schofield. Adem was briefly arrested, but later released without any charges. She died in 2012, leaving Scott's murder an unsolved case. For Mark Ruffalo, his brother's death prompted a brief retirement from acting, until returning for his Oscar-nominated turn in The Kids Are All Right. He later told The Telegraph that his performance in the film was an homage to his late brother. In the Netflix limited series, Griselda, Sofia Vergara puts aside the Emmy-nominated comedy skills she displayed on Modern Family and embraces darker, more dramatic material to play the notorious Colombian drug lord, Griselda Blanco. A fearsome presence in Miami from the 1970s through the early 2000s, Blanco ran her criminal empire through cunning and brutality, an approach Vergara knew all too well following the murder of her brother, Raphael, in 1998. Vergara's family oversaw a ranching operation that provided cattle for the meat industry in her native Colombia. In a 2015 interview with the New York Post, Vergara shared, "We come from a successful family, and Raphael knew he was a target for kidnapping." Though frequently accompanied by bodyguards, Raphael chose to go out alone on one occasion and was killed in a failed abduction attempt. His death devastated Vergara's family, and out of an abundance of caution, she moved her mother and siblings to Miami after she relocated there in 1994. As she told Parade, "With so many bad things happening, it creates a tough skin. You just take a deep breath and keep on going. If not for yourself, then for everybody you love." For years, Dylan McDermott believed that his mother, Diane, died by suicide in 1967, when the Emmy-nominated star of FBI Most Wanted was just 5 years old. The medical examiner's ruling of accidental death was accepted for more than 4 decades, until a new investigation determined that Diane McDermott was the victim of a homicide. In 2011, the Waterbury, Connecticut Police Department found that the original investigation overlooked key details that would have connected her then-boyfriend, John Sponza, to the murder. Sponza claimed that he had been cleaning his gun at the time of Diane's death and stepped away to take a phone call. Though Sponza was a known violent criminal with a history of abusing both McDermott and his mother, his account was accepted at face value. Diane McDermott's autopsy later revealed that not only was the gun pressed against the back of her head, dismissing the idea that she had pulled the trigger herself, but that the caliber of the gun found near her body did not match the weapon that killed her. The Waterbury police reported that there was enough evidence to charge Sponza with murder. However, he was himself killed in 1972, allegedly after double-crossing mobsters in Massachusetts. Actor, producer, director Ice Cube first made a name for himself with the groundbreaking West Coast gangsta rap outfit, NWA. The group's tracks were frequently anchored around hard-hitting stories of life and death on the Los Angeles streets. Ice Cube himself knew firsthand about gun violence. His half-sister was shot to death by her husband when the rapper was just 12 years old. According to author Ben Westhoff in his 2016 book, Original Gangstas: The Untold Story of Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Ice Cube, Tupac Shakur, and the Birth of West Coast Rap, Ice Cube's half-sister, Beverly Jean Brown, was taken hostage by her husband, Carl Clifford Brown, inside their South Central Los Angeles home. Police gained entry and found Beverly dead by gunshot, and Carl wounded. According to Ice Cube, Carl suffered from mental health issues and initially planned to kill Beverly and then himself. Carl died from his injuries 1 month later. In a 2013 interview with HuffPost, Ice Cube said that his half-sister's death remains fresh in his mind. "I think about my sister a lot. I think about the turn of events that triggered that situation." A contributing factor to the tragedy, according to him, was the lenient attitude towards and general ease in obtaining guns in America. He said, "It's a sick love affair, but it's just hard to break." Janelle Monáe has successfully added award-winning actor to her list of laurels, which includes Grammy-nominated music artist, author, activist, and fashion icon. Unfortunately, the Glass Onion: A Knives Out mystery star is also part of a more exclusive but less desirable group, family members of murder victims. Monáe's cousin, Natasha Hayes, was killed when an unknown assailant fired multiple shots at her home in Kansas City, Kansas in August 2016. Hayes, a caregiver, was killed by the spray of gunfire while she slept, but her 3 children, ages 14 to 18, avoided injury. Family members later told Kansas City's Fox 4 News that Hayes had said she felt threatened by an unknown individual in the days before the shooting. Monáe took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to mourn her cousin's death, writing, "Nobody deserves to lose their mother, sister, cousin, friend, etc. to the hands of evil. Evil has no race." Later that same day, she posted again, writing, "Hearing your uncle on the phone while he tries to make sense of his daughter being murdered is the most helpless feeling in the world." Though she's best known as a chart-topping and Grammy-winning singer-songwriter, Rihanna has also made forays into acting in features and on television, with varying degrees of success. The Barbados native also shares one other commonality with the other actors on this list. She lost a family member to gun violence in 2017. Rihanna's cousin, Tavon Aline, was shot multiple times and killed while walking near his home in St. Michael, Barbados, on December 26, 2017. Ebony reported on January 4, 2018, that an alleged suspect has been apprehended. However, the news was undoubtedly cold comfort for Rihanna, who had been celebrating the holidays with Aline just a day before his murder. She posted a heartfelt tribute to him on her Instagram page after learning of his death, writing, "R.I.P. cousin. Can't believe it was just last night that I held you in my arms." The senseless deaths of children and adults in a school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, prompted Emmy-winning actor Niecy Nash-Betts to share her own painful memory of her brother's death in a similar incident in 1993. The star posted a video on her TikTok account on March 27, 2023, the same day as the mass shooting at the Covenant School, which claimed the lives of 3 students and 3 school staff members. A visibly emotional Nash-Betts expressed her sorrow to the families of the victims and recalled that her own brother, Michael Ensley, died in a school shooting 3 decades prior. Just 17 at the time of his death on February 22, 1993, Ensley was shot and killed at Reseda High School by a fellow teenager. After Ensley's death, Nash-Betts' mother, Margaret Ensley, founded Mothers Against Violence in Schools, also known as MAVIS, which lent support and education in violence prevention to schools and parents. Nash, who is a spokesperson for MAVIS, spoke out in favor of gun control.
Some political groups are so focused on the wrong thing that our children are dying.
If you or someone you know is dealing with domestic abuse, you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also find more information, resources, and support at their website. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.